Imagine a small town where doors are left unlocked. Children play freely in the streets, and everyone knows everyone. Now imagine the absolute terror when, on a quiet night, a 9-year-old girl disappears without a trace. Stella, Missouri, was never the same after Rowan Ford vanished from her bedroom, transforming the idyllic dream of safety into a nightmare of uncertainty and fear. Have you ever wondered how it's possible that a seemingly safe place can harbor such dark secrets? Rowan's story isn't just another missing person case. It's an intricate web of mysteries and twists that challenge everything you believe about safety, trust, and justice. With each chapter of this saga, you'll be confronted with truths we'd rather not know, but which are essential to understanding the depth of horror faced by a family and a community. The most obvious answers aren't always the right ones. Sometimes, the clearest clues can lead us to dead ends, while the truth remains hidden in plain sight. Welcome to Spooky Stories. I'm Milo, your guide through the chilling and the unknown. Here, we dive into terrifying tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Join our community of thrill seekers, and let's explore the darkness together. On the night of November 2nd, 2007, the full moon illuminated the quiet streets of the small town of Stella, Missouri. Dry leaves rustled in the wind, and an eerie silence hung in the air. Inside a modest house on Main Street, 9-year-old Rowan Ford, with her long brown hair and curious eyes, was alone in her room. The walls were adorned with her drawings, showcasing her talent and passion for art. Her room, a refuge of colors and innocence, contrasted with the darkness approaching. Colleen, her mother, had left for her night shift at a local store, while David, Rowan's stepfather, had yet to return from working on the farm. Rowan, used to being alone, entertained herself with a storybook she had recently received. At 9 a.m. the next morning, Colleen returned, exhausted, eager to see her daughter. Entering Rowan's room, Colleen's heart skipped a beat. The bed was empty. Her initial panic was soothed by David's explanation. Rowan had asked to sleep over at a friend's house, and he had allowed it without asking too many questions, trusting in the safety of their small community. Despite David's reassurances, Colleen felt a growing unease. She searched the town, knocking on doors, but no one had seen her daughter. The concern turned to desperation after hours of fruitless searching, leading Colleen to call the police. The local sheriff, a robust man of few words, immediately organized a search. The mystery of Rowan's disappearance began to take shape, each detail raising more questions than answers. The small community of Stella was on high alert. News of Rowan's disappearance spread like wildfire, leaving residents anxious. Upon arriving at the Fords' home, the sheriff started his investigation with David, who seemed nervous but cooperative. He described the previous night, mentioning that after checking on Rowan, he and his friends, Christopher and Nathan, went to Christopher's trailer to drink and play pool. Listening to David's account, the sheriff watched for signs of deceit. The story, though coherent, left doubts. How could a 9-year-old girl leave in the middle of the night without raising suspicions? And why hadn't David asked which friend she was visiting? The vague answers increased the sheriff's suspicions, prompting a more intensive search. The FBI was called in to assist with the investigation. They began scouring the house and surrounding areas for clues. Days passed without any sign of Rowan. The once peaceful town of Stella turned into a whirlwind of theories and fear. Investigators found inconsistencies in David's statements, particularly regarding his whereabouts that night. Each new discovery heightened the tension and suspense, leaving everyone in Stella on edge. As the search for Rowan continued, the FBI focused on David and his friends. With each interview, more contradictions surfaced. Christopher, a rough-looking man with a submissive demeanor, agreed to speak again. During interrogation, He maintained the same story, but his demeanor indicated nervousness. Sheriff Clark, an old friend of Christopher's, began to suspect he was hiding something deeper. Clark, leveraging his trust with Christopher, persuaded him to speak the truth. In a moment of vulnerability, Christopher suggested that David might be involved in Rowan's disappearance. This insinuation shocked investigators, who began seriously considering a more complex crime. The suspense grew with each new testimony, keeping the community in a constant state of vigilance. Meanwhile, the search for Rowan expanded beyond the town limits. The FBI, taking a bold move, decided to press David harder, hoping to break his defenses. During an intense interrogation, David began to waver, altering crucial details of his story. His evasive attitude and inconsistencies increased the conviction that he was deeply involved. Yet, without concrete evidence, they were stuck in a psychological game, trying to untangle the web of lies and half-truths. The investigation took an unexpected turn on the morning of November 7th, when Christopher returned to the station, more agitated than ever. Sheriff Clark, who had known Christopher since childhood, sensed he was on the verge of an emotional breakdown. Leading him to a private room, Clark encouraged him to speak, assuring him he was not alone. After several tense moments of silence, Christopher began to cry and finally confessed what really happened that fateful night. He revealed that, driven by dark impulses, he had gone to David's house and kidnapped Rowan while she slept. The girl didn't wake until they arrived at Christopher's trailer, where he brutally assaulted her. Her eyes, once full of innocence, filled with terror as she recognized Christopher in the moonlight. In a panic, he strangled her with a thin rope. Sheriff Clark, shocked by the cold brutality of the confession, realized he had the missing piece of the puzzle. He escorted Christopher to the station, where he repeated his confession to the FBI. The devastating truth brought a grim clarity to the case. The revelation of Christopher's heinous crime cast new light on the investigation, but doubts remained about David's possible complicity. With Christopher's confession, investigators redoubled their efforts to uncover David's role in the crime. Interrogated again, David finally admitted to participating in the disposal of Rowan's body. He claimed that, upon returning home that night and discovering Rowan missing, he suspected Christopher and went to his trailer. Finding Rowan already dead, David, in shock, helped Christopher dispose of the body. The FBI, still skeptical, followed the leads provided by David. In their search of Christopher's trailer, they found burnt clothing remnants and the barrel mentioned in the confession. Forensic analysis confirmed Rowan's DNA presence. The scenario described by Christopher matched the evidence found, solidifying his confession. However, David's involvement remained unclear. His changing story and initial omission increased suspicion of a more active role. The investigators faced the dilemma of ensuring both culprits were properly punished without compromising the case's integrity. The once peaceful community of Stella was now overshadowed by a monstrous crime, awaiting justice for Rowan. Chapter 6: Investigation Climax. The discovery of Rowan's body brought a definitive turn in the case. With Christopher's confession and the collected evidence, investigators focused on connecting the remaining dots. Colleen's emotional state deteriorated as new information emerged. She struggled to comprehend the magnitude of the cruelty inflicted upon her daughter. David, now under intense pressure, continued to alter details of his story. His lack of coherence and attempts to shift blame onto Christopher heightened the tension between the two men. Authorities, aware of David's strategy to minimize his guilt, remained vigilant in every new testimony. In the town, the initial panic gave way to a somber resignation. Families kept their children close, and the once lively streets of Stella turned silent. Residents awaited the trial's outcome, seeking some closure to the tragedy that had shaken their community. In 2012, 5 years after Rowan's disappearance, Christopher went on trial. The courtroom was filled with Stella residents and journalists seeking to understand the gruesome details of the case. Christopher, appearing worn and visibly disturbed, listened impassively as the prosecution presented the evidence against him. His defense attempted to argue for mitigating circumstances, highlighting his troubled childhood and psychological issues. However, the brutal nature of the crime and Christopher's detailed confession left no room for leniency. The judge, delivering the sentence, emphasized the need for justice for Rowan and her family. Christopher was sentenced to death, a verdict that brought a mix of relief and sorrow to the community. David faced a separate trial. The inconsistencies in his testimony and his belated confession raised doubts about the extent of his guilt. However, without direct evidence of his involvement in the murder, he was convicted of lesser charges: child endangerment and obstruction of justice. The sentence, seen as light by many, generated outrage, but the legal process continued its inexorable course. Christopher's conviction did not end the suffering of Rowan's family, but brought a sense of justice. Colleen, devastated by the loss, found some peace knowing the person responsible for her daughter's pain was behind bars. The small town of Stella, forever marked by the tragedy, began trying to rebuild its daily life. David served his sentence in a state prison, but the stigma of the crime followed him. His relationship with Colleen disintegrated, and he became an isolated figure, shunned by everyone in the community. The light sentence was a constant reminder of the judicial system's failures for many residents, who still clamored for full justice for Rowan. Rowan Ford's case remained in Stella's collective memory, a painful reminder of hidden dangers even in the safest places. The story, full of mystery and horror, echoed in the minds of those who lived through those dark days. Every street, every house carried the marks of a crime no one would ever forget. After journeying through every dark detail of Rowan Ford's case, it's clear that even the most peaceful communities can hide terrible secrets. Rowan's story isn't just an isolated tragedy, but a poignant reminder that we must always be vigilant and prepared to protect our loved ones. Now, it's your turn to reflect on what you've learned. How can we ensure the safety of those we love? Do you really know the people around you? How far would you go to uncover the truth and seek justice? It's time to take action. Don't ignore signs of danger and always question the obvious. Make safety a priority in your life and those around you. Which part of the story impacted you the most? Do you believe David had a more active role in the crime than the evidence shows? What would you have done differently if you were in Colleen's place? Think about the measures you can take today to increase safety in your community. Share your ideas in the comments and inspire others to do the same. Remember, change starts with you. To continue learning about intriguing cases and increasing your knowledge about safety and justice, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. This way, you won't miss any episodes and will always be prepared to face the darkest truths and seek real solutions. Together, let's uncover mysteries, seek justice, and transform our communities into safer places. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our upcoming videos. Your journey to deeper understanding and a safer life begins here. Meet Sarah. Like many of us, she used to dread bedtime. Hours spent tossing and turning, waking up groggy and irritable, and worst of all, her relentless snoring that not only disturbed her sleep, but her partner's as well. Desperate for a solution, Sarah tried everything. New mattresses, white noise machines, even sleeping pills. Nothing worked until she discovered our breathing for sleep routine. One particularly frustrating night, Sarah stumbled upon an article about the power of breathing to improve sleep. Skeptical but willing to try anything, she read about our breathing for sleep routine. A simple, scientifically backed method designed to clear sinuses, enhance breathing, and eliminate oxygen blockades. It promised to guide users through a simple breathing routine for the best sleep of their lives. Intrigued, she decided to give it a shot. As she began the routine, Sarah immediately felt her sinuses clear. She followed the step-by-step guide, learning how to breathe deeply and correctly. Within minutes, she noticed a significant difference. Her breathing was smoother, more relaxed. That night, she fell asleep faster than she had in years and, incredibly, stayed asleep all night. One of the most astonishing benefits was the end of her snoring. The routine included a simple breathing hack that stopped her snoring in minutes. Sarah learned that her habit of mouth breathing was activating her survival mode, preventing her from achieving truly restful sleep. By switching to nasal breathing, she deactivated this mode and allowed her body to fully relax. The next morning, Sarah woke up feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. She couldn't remember the last time she felt so well rested. Her partner noticed the difference too. No more middle-of-the-night disruptions from her snoring. The transformation was remarkable, and Sarah knew she had found something special. Sarah's story is not unique. Many others have discovered the life-changing benefits of our breathing for sleep routine. Imagine falling asleep quickly, sleeping soundly through the night, and waking up feeling fully rested. No more snoring, no more grogginess, just deep, restorative sleep. Are you ready to transform your sleep like Sarah did? Our breathing for sleep routine is easy to follow and starts working immediately. Clear your sinuses, enhance your breathing, and remove oxygen blockades with our guided routine. Say goodbye to snoring and hello to the best sleep of your life. Check out the link for this wonder in the description and the comments.